Welcome to Worldchefs podcast. I'm your host, Ragnar, and this is World on a Plate. Now, joining us on the podcast today is a very special guest, the internationally renowned master chef and Worldchefs President Thomas Gugler. Thomas, welcome on the show.
Thank you very, very much, Ragnar. It's always a pleasure talking to you and definitely talking to our audiences and to all our membership. As the last 8 years we did several times, and it was always something very special and something unique. And it's nice to see you in good health and with a good smile.
It's good to see you, Thomas, and I think most of our listeners, they know you for a long time. But let me just remind, with over 1,500 accolades and 750 diplomas, you have awards and honors from both national and international cooking competitions. Well, chef, you have a more than an impressive resume. Born in Germany, as people know. Thomas's skills and expertise has led you to a successful career that has crossed the globe, where you cooked for royalties and heads of states and government officials and even celebrities. You mentioned to me once Michael Jackson, Madonna, to name a few. And in addition, in your role as World Chef President, Chef Thomas, you're a member of 78 chef associations around the world. That shows how committed you are. And you were the co-founder of the Saudi Arabian Chef Association. And so now we come to the after 8 years of tenure as World Chef presidents, will come to an end now in October. So we are really excited to hear from you, Thomas, and to have some of your input to our members. Well, just as we shared with the listeners, we just did a small taste of your extensive career and what you had in the industry. Is looking back now, any particular moment or accomplishment from your career that you are particularly proud of?
First of all, I have to say, as you all know, I always wanted to be a chef since I was a very young boy, 2.5, 3 years old. And that always followed the path because I thought that is exactly what I wanted to do. And yeah, one of my highlights definitely when I did my graduation of my apprenticeship, it was very, very nice because one of our former national presidents in Germany that time was my mentor and was my teacher at that time. And at the same time, later on, he brought me into the position of a national coach of the German national team, which was super successful all around the globe, as you all know that. I mean, there was Olympic winner in cooking and so on. And I think the most important thing of what I experienced in my life is that you have to work close with all the chefs and all the culinarians from around the globe. And what I always say, despite of a color, race, and a gender and belief, I think integrity is one of the most important things which you actually have to build your career on. And this was one of the main targets, basically, which I followed in all my life. And definitely one of the biggest highlights was in 2016 when I became, due to basically all the member votes, which actually gave me the trust and become the president of Worldchefs and lead the organization with the board of directors, the ExCo and you, Ragnar. And it was always a quite interesting time. We went to a lot of, I would say, quite rough times, quite easy times, talking about, all the situations with COVID. This was actually one of the biggest hit when all the culinarians actually put their head down. The entire industry came to a still stand. And partially I was really on a web calls and on kind of trainings, supportive, I would so say, initiatives online for 16, 18 hours a day, because the fear of the culinarians in that time was really, really hard. We as well had at the same time our AGM and where I was elected the second time. And I think all this, burns you, or all this is a kind of, giving you a direction into the future, which you have to think twice about whatever you do.
Yeah, and you did say one of your proudest moments when you were elected president in 2016. But how do you think your career across the globe in the years before have assisted your ability to lead World Chef members and become president? All the experience you had before.
Now, the good thing is actually I was working actually for Saudi Arabian Airlines Catering, which brought me definitely to nearly all the countries around the globe. So I knew most of the people. And before I was a president, elected as a president, I was a continental director for the Middle East and Africa. And I traveled excessively, actually, the world. I never communicated much through social media platforms. I directly talked to the people, to associations which wanted to come into the World Organization of Chef Societies. Yes, some people sometimes they criticize, oh, Thomas is going into countries which are not World Association territory. But if you would not go there, you couldn't get new members. It's crystal clear. And we got a lot of new members when I was a CD. I brought 15 new countries to the World Organization in that time. And definitely due to these connections which I had and which I still have, I mean, to the industry partners, to all the sponsors, to basically all the presidents and to all the, I also would say, people which are in love with the World Organization of Chef Societies, so we call us now World Chefs. I think that was the key for getting elected. I traveled the world before. I was one of the rare presidents who went into countries which most of the other people not even know where they were. I went to small islands like the Cook Islands, like Fiji, like Samoa. So I basically visited small associations and tried to, at the end, support them morally and physically, and getting them into the World Organization or get some of the issues which they had sorted. Definitely, it didn't materialize. Always, there are also some setbacks, which we do all know. But at the end, I think it was a fantastic time. It shows that with passion and dedication, you can bring the world a little bit closer together. And at the end, that all the culinarians sit on a green brown table and make the world a better place.
Mhm. And now we are almost at the end of an impressive 8-year tenure as the World Chef President. Next month at the World Chef Congress in Singapore. So how are you feeling now as this chapter is coming to an end, a new chapter beginning? When you look back, how does it make you feel now?
Look, at the end, it's always like this. I mean, we all do know life always have surprises. In the pocket, so I would so say. And as well, I think this is a normal path of working directions and living a life and going into positions, changing positions, retiring from positions and looking for new challenges. And I just have to say, I mean, it's always a smiling and a crying eye for whatever you do in your career, in your history, when you leave a place which you had actually a very good memory on. Worldchefs always gave me actually the drive to go further and further. It was always a very positive direction. And I think what we did, Ragnar, and the personal thanks to you and to the office team and to my board and to the ExCom, I think we changed a lot of things. Yes, not everyone did know and do know what has been happened in front and behind the scenes. So people sometimes commenting in a quite interesting way on yeah, whatever have been happened. But there are always reasons for doing certain things. And as a president, definitely sometimes you have to take the decision, you have to take the steering and go into a rough water, which not always is easy to go through. But at the end, with a good group of people behind you, with the support of the membership, and definitely with the support of the family as well, you can overcome all these situations. As we overcame, as I said before, COVID, in a way, we had then the difficulties which occurred with this aggression due to Russia and Ukraine. Now we have the problem actually in Gaza, which is spreading around. And I think always we as chefs, why we are wearing a white jacket, we have to be for peace. We have to get actually the world closer together and mostly whatever you have. And after this kind of, I would just say, war scenes around the globe, mostly when the people come together, chefs are involved because they do the go together dinners and they do the receptions for this kind of activity. So we are always part of that. And saying that, yes, World Chefs for me was a very, very interesting and very challenging direction to go. Definitely, we went through a lot of instances and difficulties which we inhabited from the past, which we had to correct. There are still a lot of things to do. The new team, which will come after our group, will step down and will be actually a new direction and a new era to come. Will face for sure the same difficulties. They will have the same challenges. And I just can always say, always think positive, regardless what people are saying, how many times they try to put you down due to their own, I so would say, feelings. But at the end, it all what's count is that you try to be a good and humble human being. Sometimes being hard is not too wrong, but always balanced it well. And this shows actually the following, which we as Worldchefs had, and which I have also on a personal level as a Worldchefs president. If I have actually attended certain things, sometimes the followers, we come to 3, 4, 5 million engagements on a single post, which is really super due to all the social media platforms. And I mean, the highlight what we had was 9.4 billion engagements throughout the entire world, which went even to Guinness. And I think this is something which is quite unique. But of course, it only happens if you have a great team around, if you have fantastic people you work with and you work for, and definitely the young chefs, which have been encouraged by a lot of, I would just say, things we did in the past is really fantastic. And I don't wanna miss a moment of what we did. And for me, it's simply a great time. 8 years of a roller coaster, which was quite interesting, from adrenaline actually going to a kind of a little bit more relaxing. But as I said, the support what we always had, Ragnar, from all the team which was actually working with that was fantastic. We had a lot of changes as well in the office. A lot of people went and a lot of new people came due to their personal desires, but always in a very, very positive way in leaving us with a very good spirit. And they are all supporting still our organization and are being in personal contacts with all of us. And this is something which is really fantastic. So people who ever left us in Worldchefs or now business space, they are still with us, and this is great. And as well, without saying that, I mean, why you said the 8 years, what was and is, having fantastic sponsors, having fantastic people who help us to build the organization further and further. And I know in the past years when people saying, yeah, but what you did and what you're doing and whatever, I said, these people should read in the past, going back 10, 15 years before the times when Gugler was starting pushing action and putting Worldchefs into a very, very functional organization like with you, Ragnar, and I'm very thankful for that. And we pushed that further and further. And if you see our financials now, where we are now and where we was 15 years ago, that's a very, very big difference. And this is what makes me very, very proud that every one of the team put the efforts into actually all their work, the hard work paid off. And finally, we are there where we are now. World Association Chef Societies, Worldchefs, with a fantastic member number, and as well a lot of new things to come when the new team, whoever it will be, will take over, because work never stops. And I know that every one of us is thinking always in the best for Worldchefs.
Absolutely. And so when you look back on the 8 years, what are you most proud of to have accomplished from your time? Anything?
I'm very, very happy actually that we have now the Worldchefs Academy in numerous languages running, which was one of the main targets which we wanted to do, to help people which are coming from sometimes unfortunate countries as well, to give them a simple base which makes their life easier to apply to work abroad and to get new directions to go. I'm very happy for the World Cultural Heritage, for the heritage directions which we did, which I think that was a very, very good change in everything, talking about competitions that We went into nearly everything edible, no food waste anymore, no static displays in a big scale, definitely showpieces and so ever, but the edible buffet helped us really a lot. And definitely there was a lot of things actually which I would really say we achieved some very fantastic I would just say influences and some really fantastic outcomes of the entire uh, business. Talking about the figures, I'm very, very proud how we stay today, how positive we end up actually all our uh, financials. And talking about that, everyone during COVID and during the hard times had to kick out people. They basically their employment was cancelled. A lot of fear. We did not send out one single person. We kept everyone on board, despite of people sometimes criticize that why we don't go out of this because you need people, you need loyal people. And I believe 100% due to this loyalty, we are there where we are today.
Absolutely. A quick fact: when you took over as president, we were about 3 or 4 people, 2 people plus 2 internees working for the office,
Yeah.
and now we are 10 people with 3 internees and 10 people and 7 full-time employees. So that
Yes.
shows the growth in 8 years, and we forget how much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and I'm very happy about that. I mean, you always took a drive, and we had a lot of discussions about how to do that. We was always cost conscious. Yes, the internists sometimes they become complete employees at the end. I mean, we have numerous of them, which are now one of the pillars of the organizations. They came as ISO would say, yeah, not apprentice, but a kind of a supporters on a lower level, and they worked up their way, and now they are asset players in what we are always believing it is the right way. And as you said, Ragnar, yeah, people sometimes don't know that, but if they would really not only read between the lines and read the lines properly, I'm very proud of what we did. I have to say that.
Absolutely. So what now? We're looking forward, looking into the future. What would you hope World Chef is able to accomplish in the future, whoever takes over?
I mean, definitely, I hope that they get a much bigger membership, that they get more countries to be enrolled. Yes, we have been criticized why we going into other countries and supporting and whatever. I mean, it's a wake up thing, and people which are really over many decades running an organization or being involved in this organization, sometimes they are losing really the vision. And we always try to be modern, we try to be outgoing, going with the time, and this requires sometimes different ways in achieving goals. It's not the same like it was 1970 or 1980. It's a different time. The time now is much faster. You have to be on top of everything immediately, and you have to actually step sometimes the foot down and sometimes press the pedal and actually going in the direction where you want to go. And I think that was one of the great things what we actually did, did sometimes, yeah, steps which a little bit outside the box, getting sometimes committee invited and letting them present actually their visions, because at the end, it shouldn't be a dictatorship. It should be a all in all together. And some of the committees which actually are within Worldchef, they did really amazing. They did fantastic jobs. Yes, and at the end, it's all about how you think. It's really important in the future that we have some legal support constantly working with Worldchefs and for Worldchefs, because I do 100% agree that it's a world organization of chefs and of culinarians, which is running everything. But sometimes you need some support from outside in order to make your foundation as stable, as legal, as strong as possible. And due to some of this, I so would say, latest findings, what we had throughout the years, I mean, we did numerous changes. We worked on some legal documentations, but it needs still some time. And the next team, which definitely it will take over, has to continue in this direction and actually make the foundation stronger, stronger, and better.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you've been through, as you said, a roller coaster over 8 years, and you know how things work inside out with our members because you've been a World Chefs for 30 years, or you were a continental
They
director
put two,
before,
it's
you
fine.
were
It's
chief
good.
chef before. And so, do you have any advice you would like to give to the next World Chef president?
Look, I always believe in one thing: unite the world. Don't exclude people. And one of the situations was, for example, what I have to come through, and I said, no way. Some people wanted to exclude a nation because they have been driven by a lot of aggression from the political side. But on the other hand, it's not the fault and it's not the responsibility of a chef. So you can't exclude these people as long they are for chefing and they are doing that with passion and dedication. And I think what for me is really important that we are really bringing the world closer together. And we managed that in so many instances. I traveled the world. I went to so many competitions. I mean, as I said, 220 flying days, visiting basically 189 countries and getting things a little bit closer together. Why I want to say I never used the money of world chefs. And I'm very proud of this. I always got all these travels, all the hotels, everything 99.9% sponsored and supported by myself or by my people, which believed in what I do from outside the organization. And I'm very thankful for that because I think, and I have to say that I for sure was one of the cheapest presidents world chefs ever had because I never put any financial burden on them for any of my travels and my visits. And you can be my witness, Ragnar.
Absolutely.
I That's one of the things which make the difference. And I just can say to the next team, try to control your finances, try to get good sponsors and more sponsors. I'm very thankful to my company, to Patreon, which sponsored for the last several years all the tickets for all the board and for all the travels we as the office and the board have now. Uh, I think this is quite unique, and it was one of my initiatives which we did. We founded the first cooperation between my company and World Chefs in the academy. We have a physical academy running now. We graduated now already 4 batches of students, which is very, very perfect. I think it shows very, very clear that uh, we are doing that in the right way. Still, all the certifications are paid through us for them, which is really nice. So it's even an income for world chefs. But that's not the case. The case for me is to say if organizations, presidents, and definitely leaders of the organization think a little bit out of the box, they can achieve a lot of things. And I want them all to be a little bit, I would just say, modern and outgoing because sometimes the directions we should follow and we get not forced to do, which I never did because I always think no, if there is a right way, do the right way and give other people a chance to definitely develop themselves, their organizations, and at the end our world organizations to better.
Well, thank you for that, Thomas. So if we yeah, a little bit ch change of subject. So you mentioned earlier, of course, COVID. If we talk about our industry since 2016, when your presidency began and up until today, uh, how do you think the industry has changed, and what do you think is the biggest challenges our industry is facing right now?
I mean, the industry has changed drastically. Why? Because everyone is a little bit more cost conscious. Sponsorings for events, for, I so would say, competitions, sending teams, having the full support. They think thrice, not twice, thrice, if they spend any money in these directions. Hotels, restaurant chains, etc., stopped actually in sending a lot of their participants to competitions around the globe because these 2 years of COVID, as we said, made a very big hole in their pocket. And a lot of culinarians has been actually laid off. which cost definitely the chefs themselves are not so much financial astute as they was before and could say, yes, I take a week off, 2 week off, and I go for a nice competition. I travel the world. Everything get much more cost conscious. And I think one of the most important things, which I really believe, is that we as chefs should always work very, very close with the industry, because without this support of the producers, of the big companies, of the big organizations or trades, you will not be successful. As like then is the same as they are not successful with us as chefs in using their products. So it's a give and take, and we always have to go around and preach that to that kind of organizations. And I travel the world. Coming back to that, I made some bridges for some of the national associations in hooking them up with really fantastic supporters, some fantastic sponsors. And this is what paved basically their way in coming very astute and very powerful into the World Organization of Chef Societies.
Mm. And hey, and you mentioned, yes, a big challenge since COVID to get people to work for our industry. So just to summarize, do you have any final piece of advice for young aspiring chefs and future generations of chefs across the globe? What would you say to the young people today?
Yeah, young people, I'm just telling you one thing, always believe in yourself. Try to learn. Don't run always after money. Sometimes you take less salary, you get more experience if you go to the grades of the industry. Number one. Number two, always try to become better and better. Whenever something goes wrong, do it again. Try to improve your skills. Try to learn online. Try to learn physically every day. Listen to your seniors. Listen to your superiors, because they have the experience which you are aiming for. You are going actually into the field. When you are young, you have the chance to do mistakes, and no one is blaming you. It's a short blame, but at the end, you're gaining out of it. As much higher you will go, as much thinner the air is getting. And that means definitely there is no space for error. If you run mega organizations, multi-million, multi-billion dollar organizations, any mistake can cost your head, and you have no space around to move. You have to be delivering the utmost best. And I think this is one of the key elements which you always have to focus on. Do competitions. Competitions is a very good and a very fantastic tool to make you more astute, to make you more, I so would say, communicative with your clients, because most of the time our chefs are very, very weak in communication. They are not really good in expressing their feelings and taking criticism. It's really important that you get feedbacks directly from the client. That means you have to be able to communicate very, very well. For me, I mean, I'm speaking 9 languages fluent, which helped me actually to travel the world. And when I was traveling with Ragnar, we managed together with 14 languages. So basically, no translator required for nearly no language, because any of the languages you speak, if you talk numerous languages, will help you out. And I think one of the most important things for young chefs is that they always try to, how shall I say, develop themselves further and further, and always go for the best. Go for high, high, high levels, what you want to achieve. Don't say, I want to be like this and this, and you target the average. Target outstanding and the best, and at the end, you will be good, because there are always some cuts down. And at the end, try to involve your colleagues and friends, even your family, because they can guide you. They can actually give you a comment. They can give you, I so would say, advice from a more friend level than if you would go directly out. You ask actually your guests, and if you did something wrong, sometimes you get demotivated, you might get demoralized because of the answers you get. But if you are taking this beforehand, you are experimenting on your guests. If you do that with your friends and colleagues, they can help you to achieve things much faster and collectively. And this is actually what I would like to always talk to you and to advise you. And The last but not least advice is please respect people despite of a color, a race, a gender, and belief. Because we are all born naked and we all go naked. And most important, you as a chef can make the life of people which are unfortunate sometimes very good. Why? Because you can share a little bit of food. If you see people who are in need, who are hungry, please share. You don't have to give them money, but you can give them food. And this food can make their day for a life happy and good. And I experienced that in a lot of countries around the world. I sometimes invited beggar for dinners. I tried to help them. I put them into places, into restaurants, and even the reaction of the people which are in there at the end, they are appreciating that. And if anyone around the world doesn't understand that, that you have to do good to others, then they are in the wrong place. And you as chefs always should follow that.
Well, thank you, Thomas. Thank you for sharing all that, and thank you for all your work for the 8 years that we've been working together. And I know you're still going to be on the board as past president, but just on the behalf of the office team, also want to thank you for a great collaboration, all the support, and all the good advice to help us all grow together as an organization. So, from the bottom of my heart, Thomas, thank you very much for the 8 years, but I know we'll see each other again. We'll be still in contact, and I know you'll always be a supporter of Worldchefs, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, and always remember one thing. When young Ragnar joined World Organization of Chef Society, WACS at that time, now Worldchefs, he had long black hairs. He was a really super shaped young man. I came in a middle age without having actually a white beard and white hairs. So that doesn't mean Worldchef made us getting white hairs, but at the end, the time changes. And I'm very, very proud that I had the chance to work with you, Ragnar, with the entire team, the office team. Big thanks to all of you for what you did. Big thanks goes to my excom and to my board of directors, which actually tried to do their utmost best. Definitely, I had different board of director people online. We changed them within the years, and they have been actually stepping down. A new one came in, but I had a great pleasure in working with all of them, and it was always a quite interesting time. Not always things are easy, but always think positive and make the best out of it. And this is what I just can wish the next generation of chefs and the next team who takes over Worldchefs for the coming next 4 years. And then we will see where we are going to. I know in the beginning, people are always very enthusiastic and they try to come up with very creative ideas and being really out of the box thinking. The only thing what I have to say, don't forget the old guards, which sometimes they might like to go back to the times 20, 30, 40 years back, but follow your dreams, follow your, I so would say, visions and your goals and make the best out of it to be successful in the future. Right? Don't stepping on other people's head.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas, for those final words. Thank you, and I'll see you at the Congress in Singapore.
Absolutely. That will be actually a fantastic event, Singapore. I urge you all to come join us actually in Singapore, Worldchefs 2024 World Congress in October. And I think we will have a fantastic time there. And you will see an amazing country, an amazing hospitality, hopefully some fantastic food as well to try. But I know I was very often in Singapore. The chef associations, the chefs, they are super talented. They are very, very keen and showing their abilities again. They have a fantastic leadership as well, a great cooperation within the team of Worldchefs. And I think it will be really amazing. And as I said, till the gala dinner, till giving the awards to all our recipients, there will be a lot of surprises to come. I guarantee you that. And definitely that's the way in saying thank you to all the membership for supporting me and the team, the ExCom and the board of directors for the past 8 years. And I'm wishing you all from the bottom of my heart that you stay all safe and healthy, that we see you in Singapore, and love you all. You take care. Yours, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas. And thank you all for listening. You're listening to Worldchefs podcast. I'm your host, Ragnar. This is World on a Plate, and we've been talking to President Thomas Gugler after 8 years of serving at the association. So thank you, and stay safe, and see you in Singapore. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care. All the best.